I want to extend a very warm welcome to tonight's guest for the first time on Crowdsource the Truth, Owen Shroyer. Owen, welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Jason. Crazy time to be alive, is it not?
It is indeed. I'm pleased to see you again, Owen. You and I, of course, met in person at the, what was it, the Deplorable, right? The event after the inauguration.
Yes. Yeah, in D.C. when they tried to smoke us out of that venue.
Exactly, exactly. It was a fun event, and it was good speaking to you there. I want to open up by saying there's been a lot of mud thrown at you guys there at InfoWars, and I want everybody watching to know that I support InfoWars, and I think Alex Jones deserves a lot of credit, even if people dislike what he says, how he presents himself, or anything about him. Here's a guy who, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, 20-something years ago just sat down in front of a microphone at a public access radio station and started telling his story, and obviously compelled millions of people to listen to him. And he's now created a multi-million-dollar news agency that, let's face it, has been a thorn in the side of CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, etc. That's a lot of work.
Well, and now the people at CNN, like Brian Stelter and Oliver Darcy, follow everything he does, try to get him banned off everything. But, there's a lot of obviously false narratives about Alex Jones, and then there's a lot of just unwashed propaganda that people fall for, like the gay frogs thing, where I'll be out on the street with, an InfoWars mic like this, and people will just walk up to me and they think they can, it's like a intellectual victory for them somehow to just say, "Oh, gay frogs, gay frogs." And I'm like, no, you know that there's a real study on atrazine and frogs and their sexual, organs. And like, oh yeah, okay. So it's like, but that's like low level stuff. The fact that Alex gets attacked on CNN, on national news, on all these news publications, and then they ban him and censor InfoWars, that's everything. That's the most dangerous thing to freedom. That is, if you can get away with that, any authoritarian, any tyrant is going to be able to totally seize power over whatever they want, essentially. So the fact that they can lie about him, smear him, create this straw man out of him. Alex Jones never claimed to be perfect, but the fact that they can make him out to be this boogeyman that he's not, and then erase his voice, rip out his vocal cords so that he can't even defend himself, that should be the scariest thing to anybody in media. This shouldn't be a political issue. Now, it's been polarized just like almost everything else is these days, but it should not be a political issue. It should be something that frightens any journalist worth their weight.
Well, it should frighten every American, Owen. I mean, here's Alex Jones. Even if he were saying objectionable things, I mean, freedom of speech gives him the right to say that. I mean, freedom of speech allows the Ku Klux Klan to have a television channel if they want to, and we should all be really fighting for that. This straw man stuff, the fake stories about Alex, I mean, I've seen it happen, and it's been insidious and a long time coming. There was that incident where, of course, Robert David Steele came on the show and started talking about the ludicrous claim that NASA has children on Mars. And then that statement gets attributed to Alex and is used as part of this campaign to deplatform you guys for all these huge tech companies acting in concert in a way that, why is that not some monopolistic, how can they do that?
Well, I think that there's enough circumstantial evidence to say that there was clear collusion in the censorship of Alex Jones. The fact that it all happened in like 3 weeks off of every platform in this August, So I think that there's enough circumstantial evidence, at least for there to be an investigation. Now, I can't launch an investigation. I'm not a prosecuting attorney or an FBI or CIA agent or anything like that. But you'd think that there'd be someone interested in that. But maybe it's like Comey said, no one in their right mind would prosecute Clinton. Well, because we know you end up in a body bag.
Right.
So I can tell you, though, from working with Alex, again, Alex Jones never claimed to be perfect. And so they think that they can just tear a man down Because like you said, he has a guest on who talks about having, whatever child abduction bases on Mars or whatever it is. So even if he does, so what?
Right.
Like, I don't understand. Like, what happened to free speech in this country? What happened to the wild, wild west? Have people become that pathetic that they can't even handle something crazy? I mean, you'll go to a movie and watch, some interdimensional demon crawl out of the ocean and destroy cities, and like, that's awesome, right? Let's give that an award. But okay, someone says that on the air, and all of a sudden it's like some sort of crazy thing. I guess if you want to believe that, maybe then you can say you're crazy. But Alex never said he believed that. He just had a guest on air, and the guest said it. It's like, okay, so
as I recall, Alex refuted it right away and said that he doesn't believe that's correct. So I mean, it seemed to me like at least a possibility that Robert David Steele wanted to come on there and plant some dumb story to trip up Alex. But let's not talk about Robert David Steele. You guys have been censored. People can see you, of course, on InfoWars.com. Now, the fact is, I'm a little concerned that if I just show the InfoWars website, I don't know how that's going to impact the Crowdsource the Truth YouTube channel, but we shouldn't feel like this in the United States. I mean, this is a website where you guys are presenting interviews and news and your political commentary on what's going on. You're also reporting on certain things that don't get so much coverage in the mainstream news. Gavin McInnes has been similarly banned from basically every platform. First they label him as a hate speech guy, and then they kick him off. Isn't hate speech also supposed to be protected? People call me a Jew all the time, say I'm a Mossad agent. Nothing's happening to those guys.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't think you're filing any legal complaints either, or reporting them to Big Brother or anything like that. But to get back to the Gavin situation, Gavin is kind of in. Alex, is obviously the main target, and he was kind of, case number one, if you will, ground zero at InfoWars. But Gavin is in an interesting predicament that's kind of a little more unique to Alex, because Gavin basically got deplatformed off of the proprietary platform. So that'd be like Alex Jones somehow getting banned from InfoWars, essentially. So Alex would literally have nowhere to go because Gavin's been banned off YouTube. And there's another thing. If people can't see how Glenn Beck is clearly a Judas goat after this, if they can't see that clearly this whole thing was orchestrated to silence Gavin McInnes, and Glenn Beck was right there in the sleigh laughing along, like a jolly reindeer, right, then you're just blind. Because Gavin McInnes, obviously the most outspoken, crazy amongst the CRTV and all those people. But you know what? Okay, there's room for that. It's free speech. And so, now they merge with the Blaze. Oh, and then they're dropping him. Oh, okay, and even Michelle Malkin's a little too touchy and rough around the edges. Even she's gone. But okay, so McInnes is gone, and then the next day, he's banned off YouTube too. So what do you do? I mean, what does Gavin McInnes do? Where does he go now? I mean, this is a test. This is kind of a new trial case. Alex already built up millions of loyal followers that know about InfoWars.com. Gavin was, his platform has always kind of moved from place to place, and now nobody says that they want him. Someone will take him, I'm sure, but it's kind of a test case to see what happens for someone like Gavin McInnes. But it just shows. I mean, if people want to doubt like the craziness of this world, how can you not see how there's clearly a directed political agenda to censor one type of speech? I mean, it's right in your face, and it's just like, if people don't care, like you said, I said, how are people not in the media not freaking out about this? Like you said, it should be, how is every American not freaking out about this? But honestly, it's because most of them really just have no idea.
Right. Well, because they're basically watching, the mainstream news, and what they do is first they villainize the target, right? So Hillary Clinton says, if you're going to listen to Alex Jones. That was amazing to me when Hillary Clinton mentioned Alex by name during her now infamous alt-right speech, where she accused Donald Trump of being a racist for making what appears to be a factual statement that Ted Cruz's father was standing outside the International Trade Mart with Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, that's a statement of fact based on photographic evidence, got nothing to do with the guy's race. But when she mentioned Alex by name, she really elevated him. There were a lot of people at that moment, I think, who didn't know who Alex Jones was. But when Hillary Clinton turned her supporters' attention towards Alex, it wasn't to promote InfoWars. It was to put him in the crosshairs and set him up for a kill shot. And as we're saying, you know, we've got Gavin McInnes has been deplatformed. You guys have been deplatformed. It's sort of open season on anyone who is spreading any kind of political opinion on social media. And Alex has always said that InfoWars is the tip of the spear. I think it's very true. There's a movement afoot to strip away everybody's freedom of speech on social media, and they want to start it with someone who they can villainize, and in this case, it's been Alex Jones. Now, Owen, you also have worked directly with two figures who are prominently featured in the news the past 2 weeks. I'm talking about Roger Stone and Jerome Corsi, targets of Robert Mueller's special counsel investigation. And of course, I know you don't speak for InfoWars. You're appearing here in your capacity as an individual. If I ask you anything that you don't want to answer, feel free to tell me that. Can you tell us anything about Roger Stone, about Jerome Corsi, the Mueller investigation?
Well, first, just let me go back to what you said about Hillary real quick, if you don't mind, because sure. I think that it kind of actually represents a prior time before we crossed a demarcation line, which is at that point in time, I don't know when that was. I think it was maybe August 2016 or October, somewhere around there. And at that point in time, they still thought they had total control. So, so at that point, because they're weighing, you know, all of these things very intently, and they're trying to weigh, like you said, is this going to promote Alex Jones? Is this going to make more people want to watch Alex Jones? Is this going to drive more eyes to Alex Jones? Or, like you said, is this the moment where I give the biggest smear to Alex Jones? You know, it's Hillary Clinton, oh, the goddess. I mean, you know, if you can roll that rotting corpse up there and get that elected, then you can pretty much pull anything off. So they still are under that confidence at that time, and it failed. It backfired. So really that was kind of I think the status quo change, at least as far as political power and that kind of interbreeding with the media is concerned. That was like a demarcation line where it was like, you thought you could destroy Alex Jones, but he got bigger than he ever was before. It's like Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars when Vader strikes him down. But now let me get to your question about Stone and Corsi. I would well, first off, I would say that I consider Roger Stone and Jerry Corsi to be friends of mine. And so when I see them being destroyed like this, I just think it affects you differently when you see people that you know and care about having to go something that's so unfair and so unjust. Right. As far as, you know, what goes on with their legal stuff and Mueller investigating them and looking into them, I'm not going to comment anything as far as their personal things. What I will say is that they were both illegally spied on by the Obama administration, and that was part of the spying on Trump's campaign. Yeah. And I think what we're coming to learn here now is basically, as I'm sure you know, your audience is well aware, the government spies on everybody. Okay, so they can get anyone's records at any time. They can get your phone calls. They can get your emails. It just takes, you know, the flick of a wrist, the swipe of a paper, whatever. So they were already spying on Trump, spying on his associates, which happened to be, I guess, someone of interest was Roger Stone. Another one of interest was Jerry Corsi and Alex Jones. And so amongst others, we received a list of all the phone numbers that they were tapping and spying on. And so those were just some of the people in it. So they were part of the illegal Spygate under the Obama administration. And I think what you'll notice, and the same goes for Manafort, maybe Papadopoulos, I'm not positive about that, probably Cohen, given his status with Trump at the time. These are all the people that the Obama administration was illegally spying on. So to put them under the gun and to put the heat on them is the classic criminal technique. Someone of this type of psychology, who's this just wanton over just power, who's been so unchecked for years too, a Robert Mueller type. So basically, you have all these people that were illegally spied on by the Obama administration, and I guess somehow via Rosenstein and Stroke and whatever connection they have at the FBI, they decide that Mueller is the guy to come in, destroy everyone that they illegally spied on, aka Trump's associates, Manafort, Corsi, Stone, destroy all them, wreck them financially, wreck them psychologically, and then hopefully, if and when the time comes that somebody may drop the hammer on the illegal spying, they won't be around to go after the Obama administration, and Trump will just be like on an island, and no one will be left to fight. Oh, but what's happening? Alex Jones is fighting. Jerry Corsi's fighting. Roger Stone is fighting. Manafort is fighting. Mike Flynn is fighting. So they're not getting what they wanted. And it's only a matter of time. In fact, I got the tweet right here because I think this is the most historic tweet that nobody really is highlighting enough.
Read that
and
to us.
It sums everything up from Donald Trump last Friday. I'll read it.
Yeah.
We will be doing a major counter report to the Mueller report. What else do you need to know? Who is going to be in that report? Obama, Lynch, Comey, Holder, Stroke, Orr, all the names that we know, Clinton, they're all going to be in that report. So that's Trump telling you, I've got the ace up my sleeve. If you want to release anything on me, it's going to blow back on you 10 times. And they know it. So we're just in the biggest political game of chicken, probably in United States history. And we're just waiting to see who makes the first move.
Yeah, I think that this attack might have other intended purposes as well. I mean, it's quite clear that Alex and InfoWars represent the most successful venture into independent journalism so far that we're aware of. You know, he literally is a guy who started at a microphone and now has an internationally recognized news agency. They've been trying to crush you guys. I don't know if you can comment on this, but how has the health of InfoWars or the viewership been affected since being relegated to just InfoWars.com? Has the viewership remained at what it was, or has it hurt?
Well, and again, I have to just go back for a second because I didn't even mention it because how ridiculous it is. But obviously, there is no Russian collusion. Roger Stone, Jerry Corsi, no Russian collusion. They never contacted Julian Assange. It's all made up, obviously. And I don't even think to mention that because obviously it's so absurd.
Yeah, it is absurd.
But I just have to put it out there just to be final. But as far as the censorship affecting us, it's tough to say because it's honestly it's like a weird hyperbole that we're expanding in the midst of contraction. I mean, that's actually what's happening to us right now. And it is kind of an Obi-Wan Kenobi thing with InfoWars and Alex Jones because, well, usually that point of time now, since we're in the Trump presidency, everything is kind of different. But normally, like that period of time, when they censored Alex Jones is kind of a lull, really, as far as media ratings are concerned and views and everything. Obviously, it starts to pick back up around late September and October, right before the midterms. But historically, it's not like a big time for like a huge ratings boost or anything like that, right? So if you see a ratings boost in the middle of August, you're like, what? What's going on here? But as soon as the ban hit, we had a huge ratings boost. Website traffic went up. I forget the number, so I was at least 10-fold, I think. I forget what the numbers are. But what are you going to do? Oh, you tell someone you can't see that person, they're going to go try to find him. Right. And Alex had already built InfoWars as a brand that people knew that they could go find him at InfoWars. So, as far as the bottom line is concerned, obviously, when it comes to finances, because that's how we're able to expand, which is part of Alex's overall plan. I feel totally loyal to Alex Jones because here's a guy who could be driving 10 fancy cars and have a private jet and basically be jet setting around the world doing whatever he wanted for his radio show and still be doing just fine. But instead, he decided to invest in more studios and invest in people like me to expand InfoWars. So I'll always be loyal to that. And even in the midst of him being erased off of social media and him being sued all the time, he still has always had a commitment to that. So I always admire Alex for that. And it's sad that people don't realize, how he's done that, unlike most other people that would be in his situation. But I would just say, we did have to ratchet back our expansion plan for this year. There is no doubt that it hit our pocketbooks, and we had to ratchet back our expansion plan for this year. It looks like the original expansion that we planned for this year, we're going to have to put off till next year. And that's mainly because since we've been, isolated to our own website, it hurts us for marketing purposes, obviously on social media, right. Less people seeing your stuff. And then it costs us more money to operate that. We've had to invest more money internally in our own, bandwidth and everything
video
like
servers
that.
And whatnot and all that kind of thing.
So it's a double-sided sword. I mean, the big hit too is when, Google removes us off their ad roll too. I mean, right. that was $1 million hit at least. Annually. So
this is an important point, Owen, because you see, everyone thinks, hey, we're living in this great situation where we can watch, thousands and millions of videos for free on YouTube, and we've got Twitter is free and all that. But it's not actually free. You're handing over the right to Google for them to decide what you can and cannot watch. So, I mean, you guys, Alex has built a large company over there. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's essentially an extremely successful startup company. He doesn't have billion-dollar backers behind that, I don't think. He's selling these products. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up. I actually first found InfoWars from the Iodine. I was purchasing the Iodine before I ever watched the show. And I mean, quickly after I found out about the Iodine, I started watching the show. But I think those health products are good. I don't ever, all the people who deride Alex Jones and InfoWars for marketing snake oil, I don't ever see those same people complaining that every other commercial on Fox or CNN is for Cialis or Viagra or whatever nonsense pill they want you to buy that's probably going to kill you anyway.
No, that is funny. And actually, it was BuzzFeed that they did a test of all of our products because they thought that they would, be able to run some hit piece against us. And they actually had to write kind of a complimentary piece about the supplements. So, yeah, but that was Alex just kind of seeing into the future, knowing that they would eventually ban him from these platforms. So he went to a more, independent funding structure by selling the supplements, which, again, it's like, duh, why wouldn't you get in the field of health supplements? It's a huge industry. It's a booming industry, quite frankly, and it continues to grow. And so, yeah, people that get on health supplements usually become lifelong customers. It's like, wow, Alex Jones is a smart businessman. Oh, my gosh. So we have to shut him down. But as this is going on, I mean, I have friends, they do their YouTube stuff, as kind of a part-time, like, side job, if you will, that they're working other jobs too. But they get some money off of fans and followers that they have through Patreon or PayPal or other different ways, and they're getting censored too. Yep. So it's trickling down, and it's a chilling effect. Like you said, like, are you going to get banned for having me on your channel? I've been banned on YouTube. YouTube banned me. They kicked me off. When I filed a complaint, they then first they said I was guilty of, I forget what it was. I did a whole broadcast of it. It's on my Twitter feed. But first they said that they banned me for some, a strange thing about, maybe it was hate speech or something. And then I challenged it, and they said, you've had legal complaints. What
kind of legal complaints?
I've never had any legal complaints. So they just banned me off YouTube too. So right now, I mean, that's like, if you had Alex Jones on, they probably would hit you with a strike. I would say, no doubt, and definitely shut down the broadcast. It seems like they still let people have me on as guests because I do go on other channels. And the only time I ever got banned was when I went on, I don't know if you know who David Seaman is or Fulcrum News, but I went on his channel and we just talked about Pizzagate a little bit, walked along the eggshells like they like you to do. and that got him banned. Funny enough, of course, there's a Rolling Stone article this weekend. John Podesta finally talks about
Right.
Pizzagate. Total BS garbage. It didn't talk anything about Pizzagate.
No, he didn't. And while you're bringing it up, Owen, I want to remind our viewers that they can follow you on Twitter, and it's important that they do that. They can just go there. All I Do Is Owen is the way to find Owen Shroyer on Twitter. And I mean, all we can really do is have redundancy across these platforms. As you pointed out, I fund Crowdsource the Truth with viewer sponsorship on patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or direct payments from paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth. But of course, you know, Patreon just last week banned Milo. And I was really upset about that. I mean, I've met Milo once. He was a charismatic, funny guy, definitely the life of the party. He says and does things that aren't necessarily my style, but I appreciate him for who he is and what he does. And like I said, I think he should have a voice. I think there's a lot of people out there in the world who might object to an entity that promotes this transgender agenda, for instance, where they're telling people who suffer from body dysmorphia and gender dysmorphia, they're encouraging this notion of irreversible surgery. I think a lot of people might find that objectionable, but yet that's welcomed on some of these platforms. And anyone who says anything that they determine is hate speech gets kicked off. Now, I met Jack Conte, the CEO of Patreon, and I got a good feeling from him. I spoke to him for about as long as I spoke to Alex Jones the one time I met him. I got a good feeling from Alex as well, but I was super disappointed in Patreon for kicking off Milo. I really think if they support free speech, they need to allow everybody to say whatever it is that they want. Hate speech is still protected speech, unless you're telling someone to do violence or do something illegal.
Well, and it makes you wonder too, you know, who's behind the decision at Patreon to shut it down? Who are they talking to? What made them decide?
I think it's a culture. You know, they're there in San Francisco and they want to be inclusive, but they only want to be inclusive for people that they like. I can tell you that.
But isn't it proof enough? I mean, all you have to do, I mean, the only social media that I really use is Twitter. It's good for news aggregation. And I mean, I can go on there and I can find, let's just start at the top, death threats to Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Death threats to myself, death threats to Alex Jones, people trying to dox me and my family.
Oh, yeah.
And then you could really
our
get
friend
into
Laura Loomer, of course, was kicked off of Twitter.
But you can go on there and you could find, you know, I mean, do I really have to say the stuff you can find? I mean, you can find pornography. You can find, I mean, people have shown the stuff that's on there. I'm not even going to repeat some of the stuff, but it's like somehow that slips through the cradle, you know, but, oh, we'll make sure Alex Jones, and we've had, I think it's like 20 different accounts that we've had banned now at InfoWars just because Alex popped up in a feed one time. Wow. So it's clearly a political thing.
Yeah, it's targeting, there's no doubt. And not only that, I mean, getting back to this tip of the spear kind of idea, I mean, listen, there's no doubt that Alex Jones, InfoWars, all you guys were an inspiration for me to start Crowdsource the Truth. I just was watching the mainstream news and totally didn't believe what they were saying, couldn't believe the nonsense that people were sharing on social media, and I wanted to do something about it. So, you know, I think Alex is being used as an example to show people like me, and even what's happening with Dr. Corsi and with Roger Stone. You know, in many ways, you guys represent the crossover from social media into mainstream media, because InfoWars has grown to such a size and so much influence and so many viewers that it starts to, you know, penetrate into this environment that's controlled through more traditional means. We've heard about Operation Mockingbird, and it's quite clear to understand how any anchor who's paid millions of dollars a year, if the producer comes over and says, hey, Tucker Carlson, stop talking about Las Vegas, unless he wants to lose his multi-million-dollar salary and risk his family's livelihood, he's going to do what they tell them. So to attack Dr. Corsi, to attack Roger Stone, to get those guys sort of going at each other in their defense and to disrupt what's going on at InfoWars is a message to other smaller independent news outlets, including Crowdsource the Truth, that you're going to get messed with if you are successful.
Well, I think it's clear that the reason why Alex Jones and InfoWars is ground zero is because he was the most effective.
Right.
You know, he may not have been the first. He's obviously not going to be the last, but he was clearly the most effective when it came to getting the message out there and making it sink in. And then, I mean, whatever marketing strategy he's been employing for 20 years, the point is that people eventually found him, despite the fact he gets no publicity on Fox News or anything unless it's negative. They never invite him on. They never talk about his documentaries or his books or when he's in the news.
Well, he's a competitor. They don't want him to succeed. They don't want him to succeed any more than Hillary Clinton does, obviously.
So, but basically they see that. It's like, I don't know what the whole thing about vampires, which was like, if you kill the original vampire, the theory is all the vampires die. So it's like, if you go after Alex Jones and you get rid of him, then essentially you can stop, you know, the Patriot movement. You can stop the awakening. For me, though, I mean, again, it's like, I feel like the reason why Alex is so effective is there's a lot of people. I was somebody that was just uninformed and uninterested, basically. But we all have, I think it's just our subconscious and just the human aspect of us that we're all connected. We all know about just, there's so much corruption in government, right? I mean, there's just so much corruption in the world. It's just, we all know it, we see it, but we can't really figure it out. You know, it seems like these people are behind, you know, closed doors, and we just don't know what's going on. It's confusing. And so eventually we just kind of say, I got my own life now. You know, there's nothing to worry about. Now I've been hit with all these chemicals and I'm kind of just dormant overall. You know, it's fine, whatever. I'll just get fat and have some beers and, you know, watch wrestling or something. Yeah. But then there's Alex Jones, and he actually kind of puts it together and makes sense of it. And then you kind of scratch your head and you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense. And then he's passionate and he's angry and you're like, well, wait a second, that's actually the right response. Hold on a second. And so you kind of like kick back into gear, and it's like you're kind of, you know, shocked out of your drunken haze for a second or whatever. And I think that's why obviously they wanted him kicked off first, and he's been the first case of this, is because for whatever reason he was the most successful, he reached the most people, and he continued to grow. And quite frankly, I mean, I am somebody that follows all media, so I don't say this to just fluff up Alex Jones or InfoWars. I'm saying this independently as somebody who looks at all news, genuinely, total dedicated to news aggregation all day. InfoWars is probably the reason why Trump got elected. And the reason why is, in the very beginning, people tend to forget this. And quite frankly, it was three people. There were only three people that supported Donald Trump when he came down the escalator. And really, it was after his first, I think, campaign speech and then the first debate. But there were only three people that supported Donald Trump. Everyone else threw him under the bus. Everyone else made fun of him. Everyone else made fun of people that thought he was going to win. That was Alex Jones, Michael Savage, and Ann Coulter. Those are the only three people. And I'm not saying this to fluff these people up for Alex Jones. That is just a fact.
Yeah.
That is just a fact. So Trump would have not even gotten through the nomination process. And obviously Donald Trump. I'm not trying to take anything away from Trump here. Trump is obviously the mastermind behind everything. I'm just saying, in the media, no one else supported him out there. So that's what kept the Trump momentum alive. That's what made Trump relevant, is because the Jones audience, the Savage audience, and the Coulter audience, and I think probably Jones is the biggest of those three. Maybe Savage you could debate.
Well, you guys set a fire across social media. Let me propose this to you, because I've said it a few times. You know, in 2008, when Barack Obama was running against Mitt Romney, I had just gotten onto Facebook. I don't even think Twitter was out yet. YouTube, I believe, was still controlled by the guy who allegedly created it in his apartment. 2012, when Obama was the incumbent, social media still had almost nothing going on. But I think you're right. Most people would agree that Donald Trump certainly would not have won if it were not for social media, and InfoWars and Alex Jones were a huge component of that. So what I've observed over the past 2 years is a major push to clamp down on social media, and certainly banning InfoWars and Alex from all these social media outlets. That's happening. That's a big part of it. But there's a bigger agenda afoot. Remember when the attack on the CIA compound in Benghazi happened, what did Hillary Clinton tell everybody? It was from a YouTube video that caused a riot. Well, the Moriartys have told us YouTube isn't even allowed in Libya. So that's a total lie. But there's an assault on social media, because I think the people that want to control information realize that guys like you, guys like Alex Jones, guys like me, whoever, can sit in front of a microphone, and if you've got a message and if you've got the way to present it and it resonates with people and it's true, you can really affect a change, and they don't like that.
Well, and their form of news and their hosts have become so dinosaur and just irrelevant that it's inevitable that people seek something else out. But I just want to go back to the Trump thing again, because people tend to not give Trump credit, and I don't want to be one of those people. So I do want to explain. Trump is the mastermind behind everything. But what would have happened if it wasn't for the support of Jones and Savage and Coulter when she goes on television shows, is that the people out there that supported Donald Trump would have felt like they were on an island. And there would have been an effective chilling effect in the media, and they probably would have been bullied out of their support for Trump. But because of big voices like Jones and Savage and Coulter, people knew that they weren't alone. And again, these are people with huge followings. I mean, Jones gets, when we open up the phone lines, literally thousands of people. Thousands. So I don't know what it's like on Limbaugh, who's the biggest one. I don't know how many calls he gets, per hour or whatever. But it's thousands, sometimes upwards of 20,000 an hour from Alex Jones. So when you know that there's that many people with you, then you're not going to be intimidated by the media. You're not going to be intimidated by people laughing at you at the dinner table or Thanksgiving. I remember I got laughed out of the Thanksgiving table by people telling me Trump was never going to win. I just smirked back at him. I was like, just wait and see. Just wait and see.
So I know, again, you can't obviously speak for Alex or InfoWars in totality, but even on a personal level, it's got a sting that President Trump and the Department of Justice aren't doing anything about this obvious collusion between gigantic corporations. I'm talking about Apple, Google, Twitter, Facebook, all acting in concert to push InfoWars off of their platforms. Why is Donald Trump not taking some anti-monopoly action against these companies?
Well, he's paid lip service to it, so I'll at least give him credit for that. My theory is Trump is somebody that paces things out and has a plan that he lists out. Now, I don't know if that means it's by date or by order of events, or he's just kind of got like a choose your own adventure type of thing, but he clearly sees the chessboard for what it is and makes his moves at a timely manner. So I'm hoping that he has the same thing up his sleeve here to deal with the social media thing, and I'm willing to at least wait till he's out of office before I fully rebuke him for not doing anything about it. I understand the political approach to President Trump not doing anything about it, because you can see what the media would say. Right. Oh, look at the tyrant trying to control social media. Look at the tyrant. Look at the authoritarian. So I can see why he wouldn't want to do that. But at the same time, again, the fact that he's willing to pay it lip service, and Brad Parscale writes a big story for Breitbart and then doesn't even mention InfoWars or Alex Jones when he talks about social media censorship, literally ground zero. It does make you scratch your head, and it makes you feel a little, blighted. But I don't take it personally, and it's kind of always been InfoWars' role to be the Dark Knight, so it just kind of fits right in, I think, to the to the grand scheme of things that have been going on at InfoWars since I started listening.
Yeah, well, and I think perhaps you're more generous than I would be, because in the case of Breitbart, I can understand their competitors, they don't want to even mention you guys because that helps you in a way that might affect their bottom line. But in the case of the president, this is an obvious situation where these companies are acting in concert to screw you guys up. Sam Haynes coming in with $25 on Super Chat on Crowdsource the Truth too. Thank you, Sam. That's great. So, I mean, Owen, where do you see InfoWars going? Is it onward and upward, or are you feeling like there's some pressure on you guys?
Well, I mean, it's tough to think about because, I mean,
How long have
obviously,
you been there?
I've been at InfoWars for almost 3 years.
So that's right around when I started watching.
And I think that, I mean, look, InfoWars.com is always going to be there. At least, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess they could find a way to shut it down. We'll see. But it's you know, it's kind of a day by day thing where we don't know, because like I said, Alex had set in motion everything to expand our live broadcasting even more in the year 2018, and we were going to run a nightly program. Hit with a couple lawsuits, hit with the censorship, hit with a PayPal ban. That hits your bottom line.
PayPal, wow. Yeah.
And so you have to, you know, change your plans, and we were not able to expand this year. So it's definitely hit the InfoWars launch pattern devastatingly. But as far as what we're doing now, I think what's frustrating about it, I mean, you know, it feels like to me that the audience supports Alex enough, you know, and us enough that, you know, InfoWars store can at least keep us alive, you know, to say the least. But what's frustrating is we can't penetrate the matrix anymore. So it's like at a certain level, you kind of feel like you're either speaking to an empty box or banging your head against the wall. Not that we don't have an audience, because we have a huge audience at InfoWars.com/show, which is where all of our live streams are. But it's like, we can't penetrate to the new audience out there that's waiting on YouTube with a video of me destroying a crowd of Trump protesters. We can't penetrate a new audience on Twitter with a video of Alex showing up at a you know, event in Congress to try to talk to Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
So that's what's really frustrating about it. That's where it really devastates us the most, is that we've just been basically blockaded from expanding ourselves.
Yeah. Alex has spoken about, you know, the boot on the neck, and I got to tell you, I couldn't get that image out of my mind when he was there in Congress. You know, that's his right to be there saying those things to these people that are supposed to represent us, and there's just this corporate, you know, government combination it's just closing the vice. I don't think most people realize that Al Walid bin Talal, the Saudi royal, has a $1.5 billion investment in Twitter. Why is that? Is he wanting advertising revenue from there, or is he wanting to control what is essentially replacing newspapers as a major source of, as you've said, news aggregation and information? Oh, and talk to me a little bit about the point you raised about people doxing you and your family, the personal attacks. It's pretty difficult to deal with, isn't it?
You know, honestly, it doesn't really bother me. Now, I might be saying that kind of jadedly because I'm still kind of new to this, and I don't have a family myself, so you know, it may be different if I had, you know, kids.
You mean you don't have kids and a wife?
Yeah, and all that. Kids and a wife or anything invested. That could change things as well. No, but when it really hit me, like I said, I don't really care about stuff. I've never really cared what people think or say about me. It's always kind of been just my way of going about my social life. But so I don't care what like people, they say stuff about me on Twitter. A lot of people like to block people on Twitter. I actually like it. I actually like people hating on me. I actually like people talking trash. I'm not gonna lie. I actually kind of like it. Maybe I'm strange that way. Maybe I'm a little sick in the head because I like that stuff, and other people like to block it. But really, when it freaks you out, and I mean it pisses you off, quite frankly, is when they do start to go after your family. And I don't like to talk about it, but they have made direct threats to my mother.
Wow.
I mean, right into my face, and then
low.
doing it on the
That's low.
And here's what sucks. I caught it on film, had the police right there, filed a police report. Nothing happens.
Right.
That's how it always goes with these people. And so that's what really sucks about it. Is
what venue was that threat made on? Was it Twitter? Was it?
Yeah, Twitter.
Did that person get removed?
No. I was just out at an event live, just talking to people, and someone shouted her name, and I was like, what? then shouted, I don't want to get into it.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. No, but I hear you. That's
Yeah. And so, I mean, so they get away with it. And I'm not even the worst case of it. I mean, honestly, if you should hear some of the stories I've heard from Proud Boys and activists in Seattle and Portland. And these people have their lives destroyed. I mean, I've heard things from people that I can't discuss. They've asked me not to discuss it, so I won't say, but let's just say people have had lives destroyed. I'm talking families separated. I'm talking weddings destroyed.
wow.
I'm talking property destroyed. I mean, they don't talk about this stuff, but it goes on every day, and the police just completely ignore it. So I've dealt with it a little bit, and like I said, I kind of just cruise through it. It doesn't bother me, so I think they kind of leave me alone to an extent because it doesn't bother me. But I'm telling you, the people that really go toe-to-toe with the Antifa activists of the world, not the average ones that just want to go up with the mask and act tough. I'm talking about the ones that actually are just real agitators out there to destroy people's lives. I mean, real low lives. And they're doing it. And it's really sad. I'm telling you, man, if you heard some of the stuff, if you knew some of the stuff I knew that had happened to people out on the West Coast,
I can imagine.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Well, it might improve your mood to know that Chelsea in our Periscope comments would marry you if you were a little bit older. So that's a little bit better news. And then, of course, Owen, you're not the principal at InfoWars, so the financial attacks and everything aren't really directed at you. They're aiming for the head, they're aiming for Alex, they're trying to disrupt his family court situation. And of course, when I met Alex was at the press conference that you guys held in Washington, D.C., specifically about the lawsuit and there was actually they just found the guy guilty of manslaughter for running over that person in Charleston.
They convicted him of first-degree murder.
It's weird.
Well, if that decision stands, that is such a miscarriage of justice. It's pathetic. And I've actually been talking about this on the War Room the last two shows because I think that this is really key because they use Charlottesville as a scarecrow, as a piñata to destroy the Trump movement and to destroy Trump supporters. And it's totally unfair. I think that manslaughter is probably the just charge that should be sent down here, not first-degree murder. But the point is, that is what's going to become a talking point. One of these recycled spin cycle news washes is, oh, you guys have a murderer. He murdered her. And so then they have this piñata that they beat, and they somehow associate it to Trump and the Trump movement, and it's just totally unfair.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, what I was getting at is this is how they like to do it. They like to spin these cases so that one builds on the next. And of course, the thing that I find so strange is the remarkable similarity between not this murder charge, but the civil suit against Alex, and I believe Lee Stranahan was named, and Leanne McAdoo, I think, was named in this thing. But they take these civil cases, and so now this judgment of murder in the case, which I agree is not the appropriate charge, they're going to now use that as fodder in the civil case against Alex, and it's just whatever they can do to pile more crap on the heap. I'm sure you haven't been following this because you're very, very busy with your show War Room. Incidentally, can you let everybody know when and where exactly they can see you on War Room?
Yes, Infowars.com/show. I'm live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. Central, and Roger Stone is my co-host. So he's got all kinds of juicy details on Washington, D.C. intrigue every day that we get into, as well as insider information. But yeah, thank you for allowing me to plug here. Live weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. Central, Infowars.com/show. I've been banned on YouTube. Twitter as well. I mean, I'm personally allowed to operate, but my show's account got banned. Facebook has hit us with multiple strikes. So, they kind of slowly are weaning me off of social media as well.
Wow. It's really something everybody needs to be concerned about because it's like, they're showing us in plain sight that if they don't like what you're talking about, you're out. there's no freedom of speech. I was in Sweden earlier this year, Owen, and there were Swedish people who were born and raised in Sweden, multiple people that I met in the course of just 3 days of being there, who were leaving the country because they said the country is too far gone. Now, Sweden is not one of these countries that you normally associate with people wanting to flee from there. It was a pretty scary harbinger of what may be to come here. And I really think it's so important what you're doing, what the people who appear on InfoWars are doing, what I'm trying to do here, to get this information out and allow people to decide what they think is true.
Well, exactly. I never claim to be the arbiter of truth or fact or information. I consider myself to be just play-by-play, basically political commentary, play-by-play every day. I try to cut it as cut and dry as possible. Obviously, I would be branded a conservative, but I think that when you just consider all the stuff, like you said, just piling on crap and piling on crap, it takes someone to sort it all out. Otherwise, there's confusion, and then there's fatigue, and then there's disinterest. And that's how we've gotten to this point. Now, hopefully we don't end up like Sweden and Europe, where they are having some nationalist revolutions in Italy, and you're seeing what's going on in France.
Yeah.
It looks like the West is not so far gone. I think Bolsonaro is a good representation of that out of Brazil, obviously Trump. So hopefully we don't get to that point, but man, it almost feels inevitable at times. But the only defeat, truly the only defeat is giving up. I mean, that's really what this comes down to. And it sounds like, oh, it's just an epic. Well, is human life not epic? I mean, hello? Like, right? I mean, yeah, it is epic. Absolutely. You're living a human experience. It's pretty freaking epic. So you better start acting like it.
Yeah. We've got some big things coming up this week, Owen. We've got testimony before Congress on Thursday from these Clinton Foundation whistleblowers. There have been rumblings that there may finally be some justice for the insane criminality that the Clintons and their associates have engaged in over the past 30 years. I'm not going to give credit to the person who's saying this, but there's some dope in the comments saying that the Justice Department has said Donald Trump is a criminal. I mean, I don't even know if that's correct, but that certainly means nothing. What we need is actual prosecution of a crime. I think a lot of people don't even realize that even an impeachment of Donald Trump is merely just an accusation. And it's not, I think people think Donald Trump getting impeached means he's going to be thrown out of the presidency, but that's not at all the case. We're getting close to the end of our hour here, Owen. Do you want to share anything else with us, or is there anything you want to leave the viewers with before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I do find it funny, all the pinheads out there that still think that somehow Trump is going down. Really? If he was, he would already be down, okay? So it just shows how shallow people are. I think that obviously, I don't know how much your audience likes to get into the existential stuff, but I think that just humanity in general right now is at a turning point, if you will. It's biblical. It's something that the ancients have written about, and I think it has to do with the technology. Perhaps there's other stuff out there. People believe the astrology and other stuff going on, but whatever it is, I think we can all feel it. I think we're in the middle of it right now. And the key is that we're all in it together, but we're only all in it together if we're actually in it together. When we've been divided and distracted and all the stuff that we deal with every day, it's the old saying, hang together or hang separate.
Yeah.
So that's why the media is so polarizing. That's why the politics have become so polarizing. They don't want humanity to be united. They don't want America to be united. And they want to just destroy all things that are sovereign and individual and even logic and common sense. I mean, just look at what they do to the children in the schools. Look at how they sexualize things. Look at how Jim Acosta says, "I'll never touch that woman," as he's literally pushing his arm into her. So they want to keep us divided and distracted as we're turning into a new age, which probably has something to do with the AI and all the stuff that they already built in. Who knows what that means for humanity, but that's where we're going. That's the next stage. And they want to be entrenched and in power. And the only way that that can happen, an establishment, a government, a non-elected body can remain in power over the people, not just of America, but of Earth, is if we're divided, we're distracted, and then we're at each other's throats. That's historically how tyrants and authoritarians come in, mop up, seize power, and become dictates. So that's why resistance is the key. And you know what? None of us are perfect, but we're in this together, and we have to keep fighting. And I want to thank you for putting your skin in the game and risking, having me on. I know that that's something that people have to consider before they do a live stream with me. Is that, hey, this could hit my channel. Then what do I do? So I appreciate that. And, I think this week is going to be epic. I do think this week is going to be epic. And I know that there's going to be some epic stuff happening tomorrow as well over at InfoWars. So I would suggest your audience tune in to InfoWars tomorrow all day, because there's going to be some epic stuff happening.
Nice. Good tip there for people to check out InfoWars.com tomorrow. And Owen, I appreciate you coming on the show. I mean, without this kind of conversation, we're basically just giving up. And I think a lot of the enemies of this show realize that if they put strikes on these videos, people are just going to come to patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth to watch the videos. And I've been encouraging people, when they see troll comments, to become sponsors or to send $5 to paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth, and let those troll commenters know that they're helping the financial health of Crowdsource the Truth with their trolly comments, because divide and conquer absolutely is the #1 strategy they use. They don't even want InfoWars to be free of that. They've got Roger Stone and Jerome Corsi going at each other over this Mueller thing. They've got viewers now suspecting you and Alex Jones and I and Dr. Corsi of being shills for Israel. There's a lot of ridiculous stories that come out. But I do appreciate you spending the time with me. It's good to speak with you again, Owen. I hope we'll have you back in the future. Best of luck in the war room, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, sir. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless America.
Have a great night, Owen, and thanks everybody for watching. I'll see everybody tomorrow.